Hi everybody, I'm Dottie Rimsey and welcome aboard to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. Well, it's back to the polls for Anniston voters on October the 4th. But according to local pollsters, residents generally have been slow in making their way back for runoffs, but many say this time could be different. That's because 3 key seats are at stake for the city. And when we come back, we will talk with incumbent Councilman Seyram Selase regarding the runoff between he and his opponent. It's a conversation that you don't want to miss. We'll be right back because if it's local, it matters.
Dance.
We go.
Let me see you move.
Love never felt so good. And I died, it never could. Not like you. Oh.
Hi everybody, I'm Dottie Rimsey and welcome aboard to Local Matters. You know, according to local pollsters, getting people back to the polls to vote during the runoffs have generally proven to show low numbers. But this year could be different. Some say it's because 3 key seats are in runoffs and those seats could change the trajectory of Anniston. Joining me to discuss his years of service for the city of Anniston is the incumbent councilman of Ward 3, Seyram Selase. So welcome aboard, Mr. Selase. Welcome back to Local Matters.
Thank you for having me.
You know, you're just becoming a staple here. I mean, this is, you've been on Local Matters so many times, and it's because you've always had such good things to share with us.
Thank you. Thank
You know, we've got a lot to talk about, so I
Right.
just want to jump right into it because we've got a lot to talk about and not a lot of time. After, what was it, August
23rd.
23rd, people went out, they voted. The next morning, there were many people who were shocked. They were shocked. What was it, voter apathy? What happened there in Ward 3?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank the majority of the Ward 3 voters that gave me the majority of the votes. Again, in the state of Alabama, you have to have 50% plus 1, but thank you very much for voting. But come back out October the 4th. Now to your question,
Yes.
again, you know, there are almost 3,000 registered voters in Ward 3. In 2012, 825 came out. In 2016, a little over 600. So I don't know what happened or what the fall off was, but I'm really hoping that people will take these upcoming elections, not just my race, but the entire races that are going on in the city of
Yes.
Anniston serious.
That's right.
You have to vote. You have to exercise your right. And again, many people died for that right, you know, especially African Americans. We know during the 60s, 50s, 60s, what happened locally in Anniston. We have to continue that legacy of voting and exercising our right.
That's right, we do, because your voice is your vote.
Right.
Or your vote is your voice.
Right.
So yeah, people were really shocked. So you mentioned legacy a few minutes ago. You were part of that.
Right.
4 years ago, Anniston created something and really collaborated with many people to start the mantra of the one city, one vision. You were part of that.
Right.
Talk to me about that, the one city, one vision.
Yeah, every time I've always brought into this idea of community. And what is community? Nothing but common unity. So what we did as a council was we said we want to put together a strategic plan for the city. However, this ought to be resident led. So we had almost 1,000 residents come out and help us put together this strategic plan to really have an idea of what direction the city needs to go to, but most of all, that it found that medium ground of what we call common unity. From that, the plan was created, and now we're in the implementation phase, and that's where a lot of my accomplishments come from. Not something that Councilman Selase wanted to do or the mayor or anyone else, but this was a community-driven plan, and now we're finally getting some results from that plan.
And that's good. And here's the thing too, people were so excited about it. I remember I was just kind of making my way back to Anniston and coming back home, and people were so excited about that because it did show, and it was formed around inclusiveness.
Right.
These 3 key seats that we have in the runoffs are going to be, it's really going to be important that people get back out and vote.
Right.
Because those seats could change that.
Right.
What do you see? I mean, if you are reelected, What do you see? What do you see yourself really moving forward in that whole framework of One City, One Vision?
Yeah, well, it's critical that we make sure, especially at City Hall, we have an open door policy for our residents. And again, you just made me excited again thinking about that process, because we went to every community center and listened to the residents. Man, one thing that I see, you know, no elected official is perfect, but something I would love to do if reelected, I would love to do that at least once a year, making sure that I'm going to all of my community centers and consistently hearing the residents' needs, instead of the perception sometimes, which may be, oh, well, this elected official only comes around once every 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's just not true, because a lot of hard work is getting done. However, I think it's critical that we continue that One City, One Vision process in all of our wards and have those meetings at least once a year to make sure that we're hearing the needs of all of our constituents.
And you said another key word too, and that was part of, I think it was 8, there were 8 factors that were really identified as key factors that that the people wanted to see change.
Right.
And believe it or not, perception was one. Talk to me about the perception of Anniston. There are many people who, there are some, I guess it's depending on who you would be talking to. Their perspective of Anniston, their perception is so real.
Yes.
Talk to me about the perception of Anniston right now.
Yeah, now being an elected official, you really understand when you're trying to market your city to developers, you know, to people, commercial, retail, and industry, the perception of your city is so very important. And to be honest, you know, a little over 4 years ago, Anniston had a very bad reputation. And I mean, I'm not talking about just locally, but nationwide.
Right.
When I would go to conferences, as soon as I was elected, they said, okay, you guys aren't going to be like the previous councils. And I was like, wow, you know, you heard about this in Boston and New York and all these other different places, California. And yeah, right now the perception, I think, has really, really changed throughout the city. We're finally getting calls in from developers. You know, one of the most recent developments in Ward 3 was dirt cheap. And again, when I talked to those developers with our economic developer, you know, they were saying, okay, we looked before, but we were kind of hands off. But now we want to work with you guys as a city. And there will be some more huge announcements coming here in the real near future.
I think one of the key things that people are really starting to embrace, and people, the perception is that Anniston is becoming more diverse in terms of people being able to move to the city and start their own businesses.
Right.
Is that something that you see more of, people being able to come into the city and start their own business?
Definitely. One thing that we've done, and I have been instrumental in this as a council member, we've streamlined our process for businesses to come in. So no longer do you have to go to different departments and get this information over here, get this information. As soon as you come in City Hall and you go to our planning and development services right there on your right, it's a streamlined process now for you to do business, because again, one of the criticisms we heard and that came out of the strategic plan was that it's hard to do business in Anniston. And we don't want to be that anymore.
Right.
We really want to change part of that perception to make sure that we're as welcoming and as friendly to developers and local business owners as possible.
Okay. When we come back, we've got to go to break right now. When we come back, I want to talk more about education. We know how key that is. If your education system is viewed as a negative, then that will keep people from not wanting to move into the city. So we'll be right back with more Local Matters. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. You know, we've got to go back to the polls, October the 4th. And you know what? We've been sitting here talking about that. That's the incumbent city councilman, Seyram Selase, and myself talking about that process. So welcome back to Local Matters. October the 4th. Just want to keep driving that home. October the 4th, October the 4th.
Right.
Getting people back out. We were talking about some of your accomplishments. You know, you've only been with us and representing and serving this city in your capacity for 4 years now.
Right.
But during that time, Councilman Selase, you've had your hands in many different pots throughout this city, working on so many different projects. We've talked about One City, One Vision, and now I want to drive home and really focus in on education, because we know that if the education system is not viewed as a favorable one, people are not going to want to move to the city. And I know you've been working really hard for education in our city. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, when we came in, the graduation rate was 58%, Dottie. And one of the outcomes from the strategic plan was, again, working on our educational system. Well, me, along with other council members, worked to create what's called the Education Innovation Fund. approximately $1.4 million have been given towards that particular fund to date. And what's interesting is previous councils did not fund education the way our council has. With that, when Superintendent Darren Douthit came in, my fraternity brother.
Yes, yes.
The graduation rate then jumped up from 58 to 86%. Attendance went up. The Anniston Middle School was taken off the failing schools list.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yes.
it's been a pleasure to work with the Board of Education as well as the superintendent to make sure that we improve these educational outcomes. Now, have we reached the end of the rainbow? No. And there's so much more work that needs to be done. But from the culinary arts program to the Anniston firefighter program, brand new, that is now in the high school. I mean, we've really been working hard
And
as a
you've been
council.
right there working with Superintendent Douthit.
We've been working pretty much hand in hand to make sure that these outcomes improve. So again, I knew, and again, I'm the son of a school teacher. So I mean, my mother has taught.
So you really recognize too the importance of education.
Exactly. She's taught all my life growing up. So, you know, I knew how important it was to make sure that I worked as hard as I could to improve our educational
And there's so
system.
many other projects that you've been working on as well. I want to bring up your commercial and take a look at that too, because I know there's so many other projects you've been working on. Let's take a look at that.
I am Seyram Selase, and it has been an honor and a privilege to serve these past 4 years as your Anniston City Councilman, Ward 3. We made a lot of progress since I took office. 1,500 work orders have been completed, and the city's high school graduation rate has improved from 58 to 86%. But the job is not finished. I want to continue working for you and make sure we stay the course in improving our community. On October 4th, go back to the polls and re-elect Seyram Selase, Anniston City Council, Ward 3.
Oh, I love that commercial.
Thank you. Thank you.
Saw too many deltas featured there. But yeah, you had the sororities, or the black sororities and fraternities, well, not the fraternities, but sororities there, helping you do a cleanup there in the city.
I mean, yeah, you know, I mentioned first in the commercial about all the work orders. Now, 1,500 work orders, that's just an average, but it's much more than that. But try to give a nice round figure. But again, letting people in Ward 3 know that we have been on the ground running. Now, again, is everything perfect? No. I mean, the city didn't get this way overnight. It's not going to change overnight. But every time my constituents have called, I responded, making sure grass gets cut, making sure that street lights are in proper places. Everything from even making sure that you know, ditches are cleaned out, because we don't want children playing near areas where snakes and rats could come out and get them. But again, these are initiatives, as you saw the Anniston Green initiative.
Right.
It takes time to make sure that all of these things are done, and I've learned so much in just this short amount of time. But again, I think there's a lot, especially moving into the future if reelected, that I can do in Ward 3.
And I think you can too, because already, again, sometimes we don't realize it's only been 4 years.
Right.
And already the various projects that you've been working on so diligently. Speaking of cleanup, since we're here, I want to go to another area that I'm really concerned about, and that would be abandoned houses.
Right.
That it seems to be an eyesore for the city. It's not good. What do you see yourself working on some? Do you have plans to really address those particular needs with those abandoned, especially when you're Noble Street?
Right.
These are key. That's a key street for our city.
Right, yeah, and those are two sides, because one deals with economic development, one deals with just getting down blighted properties. Our council, we actually improved and increased the number of code enforcement officials so we can more quickly declare some of these abandoned homes as nuisances. And again, what people have to understand, the city already has between 15 to 1,600 abandoned lots.
Right.
There's only so much money to go around, so we try to get to these lots as quick as we can. But what I'm working on now is making sure that we figure out a program to where if a resident is taking care of a lot next to them, that hopefully through the state, we're working on state legislation to help us with this, they can then take over that property and keep it clean like they do their own property.
Right.
You know, it's the concept is called mow to own. But again, we learn it's taking, we need state legislature help to be able to do that process. On the Noble Street end, thank God that we, and me working with our council, created our first economic development department in the city in-house.
Okay.
They created an incentive program through the Downtown Development Authority where we could incentivize retailers or business owners to come in and purchase Noble Street property in order to create new business. And people are taking advantage of that now. You know, I'm really excited about some of the other projects that I can't mention just yet, but there are some huge projects that are now coming to Noble Street because of that type of work.
Okay. Well, we've got to go to break again. When we come back, we're going to continue more because there's, again, only 4 years that you've been here and serving the city, but so many projects that you've worked on. So we're going to go to break. We'll be right back with more Local Matters. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. And I can't say it enough that it never felt so good to be sitting here talking with incumbent City Councilman Mr. Seyram Selase. And we've been talking about all of the accomplishment that you've made since you've been in service for the last 4 years. And it's only been 4 years. And in fact, it seemed like it was just yesterday.
Exactly.
You know, I moved back home and you were just coming in and I didn't even know you. And now we're sitting here talking about all of the accomplishment that you've been a part of.
Right.
I want to go back to One City, One Vision again, because that was a huge accomplishment, I think, for the city, where it involved inclusiveness, and there were about 8 or 9 different factors that were identified as key factors and components to work on. We addressed earlier, we talked about education, we talked about perception, but now I want to talk about one that's key, that's really important, because some say, well, too much money was spent in creating concerts and things of that nature. That would fall under quality of life. I mean, if your city's not where it is, all you can do is continue to work on that and chip away at that elephant. But should people's heads be hung down? And should people be sitting sadly while they're waiting to chip away at an elephant, if you will?
Great question. Again, back to the strategic plan. This was an outcome from the strategic plan. So what did we look at? The residents wanted more quality of life events. One common thing we saw in all the surveys, there's not enough to do in Anniston. Well, since the city is taking in taxpayer dollars, it's important that we give back to the community that gives to the city. We are the community. So one thing that we said as a council, we want to make sure that we have quality of life events. So that's when we started to look at programs like bringing in Morris Day in the Time, Cameo and Houdini, Blues Traveler. All these concert events were outcomes from what the residents said that they wanted. And there's not one place that I can go in this city and people say that, oh, I don't like that. I mean, they really enjoy these events. And again, free to the public, but the public through their tax dollars are paying for these events. So again, I haven't heard many negative comments about it. And like you said, I mean, the city wants to feel good about itself. The city almost, and I've like to use the term, it's almost like become a city family reunion. You know, because you go out there, people have their tents, people have the kids out playing on the bouncy thingies. I forget the technical name. But I mean, but they have a good time. Then the kids go home, and then these concerts happen. It's really brought a nice family atmosphere to the city, and I definitely wouldn't want to see that go away. So that's why I definitely need to be reelected to make sure we continue to work on those type of events.
Right, and no matter what you do and how well you do it, there's always going to be negativity. And then when you're campaigning, there is negativity in campaigning. How have you dealt with the negativity since the campaign, especially now that we're leading into this runoff process?
Very good question. I'm really inspired by none other than the First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama.
Don't tell me you're going to say what her favorite statement was.
I have to say
when they go low, we go high.
And I have held that mantra so close to my heart, because campaigning can be very negative. I mean, people talk about your family, your house or whatever it is there, your shoes. I mean, people find time to talk about it, but I have really, truly held on and close to that statement. When they go low, they go high. And then I also keep in mind that, greater is him that's in me than he that is in the world. So, no matter what negativity comes my way, I have to be that light. I have to continue to remember that no weapon shall prosper against me. And so, and again, the scripture doesn't say the weapon won't form. The weapon will form, but that it won't prosper. So, my faith and my family has really helped me maintain my cool as I see people like President Obama's and, you know, even to a certain extent, Bill Clinton back in his day, he would do some of the same thing. But you really have to keep a cool head and remember at the end of the day, it's about the people. It's about the people. It's about the children, and it's not about me. And I can take these little nicks and bruises in order to give the community what they need. And
speaking of the community, because again, as you just mentioned, we kept saying, you know, when they go low, we go high.
Right.
The community right now, this is a vital process.
Right.
This is a vital process that's coming up that, again, that could really change the trajectory of this city.
Right.
So we've got a lot at stake right now. What do you, if you are reelected again, if the people will come out and really put their trust and give you another opportunity to come back, what are you going to be working on for the next 4 years, Seyram?
Yeah, at this point, two critical areas, again, education and retail development, economic development. It is now time, again, now the developers are looking back at the city. Now that we've gotten past some of the negativity and some of the lawsuits coming against us as a city, it's now time to grow Anniston again.
And I don't mean to cut you off, because that's housing and economic development are two key issues.
Right.
And another issue is very important to me too, is mental health. But we're not going to talk about that right now because we don't have enough time.
Right.
But that's a key issue for me, is mental health. But economic development, that is huge.
Right.
Because and people are saying this, and I understand now what they mean. We need to see businesses come into this city.
Right.
Not just a little store here and a little store there. We need at least, if we could just get one big business here.
And remember, again, your retail or economic development is only as strong as the leadership that you have in place.
That's right.
And that perception is so key, as you keep mentioning. What type of city do I want to go into as a developer? One that's bickering all the time, one that's causing all type of chaos and things of that nature, one that's divided, or a city that has, you know, no city is perfect, but one city, one vision. That idea is perfect, that everybody has to come to the table in order for the city to be successful. And if I'm a developer and I see a city working towards those type of goals and ideals, I want my business there. I want to locate there because I feel that this place is positive. It's going to help my business thrive. And then again, give people good opportunities to work and be successful in their own lives.
All right. Well, he said it best. We are running out of time, but what have we learned today? We've learned that, if nothing else, inclusiveness, working together is what we need in the city of Anniston. So I encourage you to do nothing else. If nothing else, I encourage you to get back out and vote October the 4th.
Yes.
And after that, that's all that needs to be said. And we'll see you back here next week for more Local Matters. Because if it's local, it matters.